For 15 years, Anna Morales learned every sound the Whitmore mansion made. She knew the sigh the front door gave at dawn, the tired groan of the banister, the bright chatter of the chandelier crystals when a window opened and a breeze sneaked in. She knew how to make the marble floors glow like still water. She also knew how laughter felt when it landed on you like thrown crumbs. "Careful, Anna," Charlotte Whitmore called from the top of the stairs that summer afternoon, the day the lilacs were dying in their vases. "Mother doesn't like streaks. You missed a spot. No, not there. There." Anna dipped the mop again and said nothing. Camilla from the kitchen had warned her the eldest daughter was in a mood. "Your shoes," Charlotte added, chin tilted. Are they the same ones? From last year?" "They're comfortable," Anna said as politely as she could. "Comfortable," Charlotte repeated, tasting the word like it was a cheap candy. How quaint. A cork popped from somewhere deeper in the house. Laughter fanned out across the foyer like perfume. In the mirror's gilt frame, Anna caught a glimpse of herself. 53, hair in a bun that had once been black as coffee and now was salted at the edges, shoulders straight as a prayer. She lifted the bucket, carried it to the service sink, and kept moving before the laughter could become a stain. Evelyn Whitmore, Mrs. Whitmore, always, caught her in the corridor near the music room and touched her elbow. "Let it pass," Evelyn murmured. "Waves break, then there's quiet." "I'm fine," Anna said. "I don't doubt it," Evelyn said, a small private smile. "You and these floors have more in common than my children realize. You're both what keeps this place from falling apart." "Thank you, ma'am." "Evelyn," the old woman corrected gently. She was 76 that spring, elegant even, in her thinness, with a silk scarf always loose at her throat, as if her neck remembered dancing. The scarf today was a pale blue, the color of morning. Anna nodded, and the scarf floated past down the corridor like a piece of sky someone had accidentally brought indoors. There had been a time, 15 years ago, when Anna washed dishes in a diner by the freeway, and the air was salt and grease, and the clatter of plates was the weather. A florist, had told her the Whitmores needed someone quiet, steady, honest. Anna had rehearsed those words on the bus up the hill to the interview. Quiet, steady, honest. When she stepped through the back entrance for the first time, the house had greeted her like an orchestra tuning. She'd felt, against all logic, seen. She sent money home on Fridays. "For Mateo's textbooks," she would write in the little line on a money order, or "for Mom's medicine," even after there was no mother to need it. The habit of giving names to money made it heavier, more real, less likely to slip away. At night, when the house finally slept, Anna would sit on the back steps with a cup of chamomile and listen to the city breathe. She learned to measure years by the lives within the house, the ages of the Whitmore grandchildren, the flavors of the parties, the cycles of Evelyn's scarf colors. She learned to become background. She learned not to flinch, but the body remembers. One winter, 8 years in, Anna walked into the drawing room to dust and stopped when she overheard Gregory, the younger son, red-faced and perpetually impatient, say, "It's ridiculous to keep her on full-time, Mother. It's charity." Evelyn's reply was silk with steel under it. "No, Gregory. Charity is when we give away money we won't miss. This is loyalty. This is a life. She's a maid." "And your grandmother was a maid," Evelyn said, and Anna backed out. Before her heart could betray her with its sound, she didn't tell Camilla about that conversation. She kept it like a small stone in her pocket. Some things you held not to throw, but to remember the weight. The spring Evelyn fell. The whole house shuddered. It was a morning like any other, sunlight in stripes through the blinds, coffee blooming bitter and warm in the kitchen, until it wasn't. Anna found her on the floor by the piano, one hand tangled in the scarf, one shoe turned sideways. "Mrs. Whitmore," Anna said, dropping to her knees, feeling for breath, remembering the CPR course Camilla had dragged her to 3 summers ago, where she'd pressed down on a rubber chest while an instructor clapped a rhythm with her hands. 2 inches down, let the chest rise, 2 inches down. "Stay with me, Evelyn. Please." "Don't you dare leave," she whispered, and started compressions. The metronome of her palms struck the silence like a bell. Twice the scarf slipped. across Evelyn's mouth, and she pushed it aside. Somewhere a clock insisted it was 10:13. Somewhere a child laughed in the yard on the other side of the hedge. Somewhere the universe had an opinion that didn't matter. By the time the ambulance wailed up the drive, Anna's shoulders burned and her breath was thick with the taste of metal. The EMTs slid Evelyn onto a gurney, a scarf corner trailing like a flag. At the hospital, Charlotte arrived in oversized sunglasses and the smell of expensive anxiety. "What happened?" she demanded. "She fell," Anna said. "She didn't say I held her heart in my hands and told it not to stop. And you found her?" "Yes. How long was she? How long?" Charlotte's face was a cracked plate trying to pass as whole. "I don't know," Anna said. "I started compressions right away." Charlotte eyed her like a cashier counting change twice. "Of course," she said finally, as if she'd found something short. When the doctor came out, he was efficient and kind and very tired. Evelyn was stable. They would watch her. She should rest. "She will hate that," Anna murmured, and the doctor smiled despite himself. "Some people earn their right to hate rest," he said. "We'll tell her it's a holiday." Back at the house, Anna stripped the music room of the faint evidence of crisis. She coiled the scarf. She found it hard to breathe until she put it away in the drawer where scarves went to cool. When Evelyn came home, she moved a little slower and laughed a little softer. But her eyes were brighter than ever, like someone had opened a window behind them. "I heard," she told Anna in the garden, "that you insulted death, and it left in a huff." "I reminded a heart of its responsibilities," Anna said. Evelyn's laugh was a bird taking off. "I should put that on the family crest." "You already have one," Anna said. "Then I'll start a new one," Evelyn answered. "We're due for an update." The summer she turned 77, Evelyn began asking her lawyer, Victor Lawson, to come by more often. He would sit in the library with her in the afternoon sunlight, papers spread like sails, and they would talk in voices that disappeared. "Into wood. Everything must be clean," Evelyn told him once as Anna passed with a basket of folded linens. "Clear. Proper." "It will be," Lawson said. He had the patient look of a man assembling something with many small parts. When Evelyn caught Anna's sleeve in the corridor that day, her fingers were cooler than usual. "If the wind changes," she said, "I want the house to know whose hands kept it standing." Anna thought it was a metaphor. She smiled and said, "You should rest, Evelyn." "Someday," Evelyn said. "Not today." She didn't live to see the leaves turn. On an early September morning that broke warm as milk, Camilla found her sitting in the sunroom with a book open and her scarf looped like a small sleeping animal. The room was so bright it took a long breath to understand the stillness. The doctor said it had been gentle. The house went quiet in a way Anna had never known. Sound changed color. Footsteps were sounds of apology. Doors learned to whisper. Charlotte brought in florists and caterers and a party planner whose shoes were so narrow they looked painful. Gregory barked at people he was paying. The grandchildren sat on the back steps and threw bread to nothing, because there was no pond and no birds ever came this far up the hill. Anna polished until the wood shone like you could fall into it and never hit bottom. After the funeral, the family gathered in the library for the will. The room smelled of old paper and newer grief. A portrait of the late Mr. Whitmore watched from above the fireplace with the neutrality of a man used to being framed. The chandelier held its breath. Lawson stood at the head of the table, glasses low on his nose, a heavy envelope in his hand. "Thank you all for coming," he said, and the phrase sounded absurdly formal to Anna, who stood by the sideboard with a tray of water as if thirst could be solved that easily. Charlotte sat like a queen whose country had been insulted. Gregory fidgeted with his cufflinks. The grandchildren, Marlo and Theo, watched the light make dust visible and looked grateful for something to look at that wasn't a face. Camilla had wedged herself near the doorway, rosary tucked in her palm like a small task. Lawson cleared his throat. "I will read the last will and testament of Evelyn Margaret Whitmore. Executed June 12th. Witnessed and notarized the same day." Anna felt something move under that date like a fish under water. Bequests. Some went to charities with names like promises. The grandchildren would have trust funds that would open their hands in stages, like flowers trained by patience. Gregory. would receive the lake cabin because he loved it most, although he had never learned to love the spiders. Charlotte would receive the art she had once cared about. There were letters. There were provisions. And now, Lawson said, and the room leaned toward him as if he were about to share a trick. Regarding the Whitmore residence, Charlotte's spine sharpened. Finally, she muttered, and Gregory shot her a look. Like a poorly thrown dart. Lawson's voice didn't change. Evelyn Margaret Whitmore bequeaths the Whitmore residence and the immediate grounds, as well as the Whitmore family endowment for the maintenance and stewardship of the same, to Ms. Ana Morales. The sentence landed like a dropped piano. What? Charlotte said, laughing in a way that hurt to hear. What? Ana Morales? Gregory said, as if tasting a flavor that didn't belong in a house. Camilla made a sound that might have been a prayer or a choked sob. Marlowe's hand shot to Theo's. Lawson read the line again, the way a teacher repeats a theorem that seems impossible until it isn't. Anna's knees didn't give. It surprised her. She had thought if a sentence like that ever found her, she would need furniture to keep from falling. She set down the tray with careful, ritual slowness. Absolutely not, Charlotte said. This is absurd. Mother must have... There's been a mistake. There has been no mistake, Lawson said. He lifted a second envelope. Mrs. Whitmore anticipated your surprise. She included a letter to be read aloud. He unfolded the paper. The sound was the softest thunder. My dears, he read, and even the house listened. You know I have believed, sometimes too stubbornly, in the weight of objects. This house has held our laughter, our cruelties, our apologies. For nearly 8 decades it trusted me to be better than I was, and forgave me when I was merely human. The person who has held this house upright, the one who polished its bones and saved my life and reminded me how to be decent when my temper went wandering, is Ana Morales. If you want to be angry with me. If you want someone to blame, blame the day a woman from Jalisco put her hands over my heart and told it that its work was not finished. I promised her nothing then, because promises are cheap and I preferred vows. Consider this my vow kept. The house should belong to the hands that kept it alive. Be kind. Love as if it's your only job. E. Silence. A long lake. Charlotte stood so fast her chair scraped out a scream. She manipulated Mother, she said. She's been pushing, whispering. Mrs. Whitmore didn't whisper, Camilla said, voice small but steel-colored. Oh, she didn't need to. You think she saved Mother's life? With what, her magical mop? I did CPR, Anna said, and the room turned toward her voice like birds. 2 years ago, in the music room, before the ambulance came. You, Charlotte faltered, then gathered the tatters of her fury. It doesn't matter. This house is a Whitmore house. It still is, Lawson said. The terms establish the Whitmore Residence Trust. Ms. Morales is the owner and trustee. The endowment is set aside for the house's care and community programs to be developed under her direction. The trust is airtight. Mrs. Whitmore consulted 3 separate attorneys and made a video statement. He glanced at the television in the corner that had never once been used for sports. We can watch it now if you like. Charlotte's face became a mask that told a different story for every angle. I'll contest. You can, Lawson said, but you will not win. Gregory had the look of a man whose calculations had been done for him. He stared at his cufflinks as if they were a language he had never learned to read. What do you even know about owning a house like this? He asked Anna, not unkindly, not kindly either. Just a question with a bruise inside it. Everything, Anna said, but in a different direction. Theo, who was 14 and learning the shapes of courage, asked the one question no adult had thought to. Will we still be able to visit, Miss Anna? It cracked something open in the room. The adults were suddenly too large, shedding unnecessary words like fur. Anna met his eyes and saw Evelyn's there, that same exact blue. Yes, she said. If you are kind to everyone who works here. No exceptions. Charlotte laughed her paper-thin laugh again. Oh, how generous. Evelyn asked for kindness, Anna said. I'm going to try to keep that promise. Try? Charlotte snapped. I have never been rich enough to promise anything, Anna said quietly. but I am stubborn enough to try. Word traveled faster than furniture. Neighbors came by with casseroles that were more curiosity than comfort. The man who had trimmed the hedges for 20 years shook Anna's hand and said, "If you want to take that topiary animal, down, you have my blessing. It looks like a sick camel." "Leave the camel," Anna said, and he barked a laugh and looked relieved. People wanted to know which world they were waking up in. Gregory packed the lake cabin keys into a leather pouch, like it was proof of something. Charlotte announced she would stay in the city for a while, and stalked out of rooms with designer bags that had never seen an airport carousel. Marlowe, who had Evelyn's laugh and none of Charlotte's edge, came back the next afternoon with a cardboard box of old photos and asked if she could help put some up in the kitchen. "Because the kitchen is where memories belong," she said. And Anna nodded because she had learned that when she was 10. That first week, Anna walked the house with a legal pad. She made lists. She stood in rooms and listened to what they asked for. The ballroom needed light. The library needed a rug that didn't whisper age every time someone crossed it. The servants' staircase needed new treads, because loyalty shouldn't take a toll on knees. She took a breath every time she wrote a large number and then kept writing. At night, alone in the sunroom, she took Evelyn's last letter out of the drawer. There was a second page, meant only for her. "Anna, if I had been braver, I would have said the quiet part out loud more often. You were the best of us. Don't let the house turn you into furniture. Sit sometimes. Tell it stories. Make it kinder than I ever managed." "Love," Iana would read it twice and then put it back. She let the words settle somewhere behind her ribs, like a stone that chose to be a jewel. On Sunday, she called a meeting in the kitchen. Camila came in with the coffee. Miguel from maintenance arrived, smelling like cut grass. Liana, who did the flowers, tucked a daisy behind her ear that had lost its expectations. Anna stood by the window and said, "We are going to open the house on Wednesdays." "Open?" Miguel asked. "For the neighborhood," Anna said. "A free afternoon. Music in the garden. Cookies. A place for people to feel like they belong in something beautiful." Camilla's eyes shone. "Evelyn would have liked that," she said. "She would have pretended not to," Anna said, smiling. "Then she would have written me a check with too many zeros. We'll do it anyway." They worked like people who had been waiting a long time to be asked. The first Wednesday, 3 mothers and a toddler came, and the toddler put both palms on the marble like he was blessing it. The second Wednesday, a class from the elementary school came with their teacher, and the house learned the sound of 30 children trying to whisper and failing with joy. The third Wednesday, a man in a suit who lived 2 streets over wandered in and cried by the piano without asking permission. Anna put a box of tissues where Evelyn's metronome had once sat, and nobody moved it again. Not everyone was a guest. Some were judges, with mouths for corners. "Shameful," a woman sniffed as she looked at a sign that said, in simple letters, "Welcome. Opening a family home to the masses." "It's a house," Anna said. "It can hold more than one kind of story." "Are you going to start charging?" the woman asked. "For what?" "For entry, for being here." "No," Anna said. "We are already paid in full." The woman shook her head, scandalized by a bill she couldn't see, and left. Charlotte returned in October with a lawyer whose suit cost more than Anna's first car. They made noise about undue influence. Lawson answered with videotapes and witnesses and dates that stacked like bricks. Charlotte softened the attack into a negotiation. She wanted a painting. She wanted the sunroom chairs. She wanted the silver with the roses on the handles. In the end, she took 2 paintings and the sunroom chairs and left the silver because no one uses silver anymore, which made Camilla snort later while polishing a spoon just to spite the air. Before Charlotte left, she peered into the kitchen, where Anna and Camilla were arranging little sandwiches on platters for Wednesday. "You were always very good at serving," she said. "Yes," Anna said evenly, "and now I get to decide the menu." Something flickered across Charlotte's face. Anger, envy, a brief recognition that the world had shifted and might not shift back. "You'll ruin the house," she said, "with people." "The house has always had people," Anna said. The difference now is they all get to use the front door." Winter was the cleanest season for a house like this. Snow erased the city's messes and made the driveway a truth-telling path. On Christmas Eve, Anna stood in the foyer with a string of lights around her shoulders like a careless crown, trying to untangle hope from intention. She heard footsteps and turned. Marlowe stood there with a copy of A Christmas Carol under her arm, sheepish. "I know it's cliché," Marlowe said, "but could I read to the kids in the sunroom?" "Please," Anna said, in the sunroom filled with ghosts that made everyone kinder. After the new year, Anna called the scholarship committee at the community college and asked what it would take to start a fund. "For housekeeping and facilities students," she said. "People who make things run. People like us." She didn't say poor. The word had too many meanings. She insisted the fund be named after Evelyn and the staff together, the Whitmore. And hand scholarship, because a house builds itself from two directions at once. "Why the ampersand?" the coordinator asked. "Because and is better than or," Anna said. In March, Theo got into a fight at school with a boy who called him the kid whose grandmother gave away their house to the Maid. He split his lip and didn't cry and told his mother he wanted to go to the house on Wednesday. Charlotte argued, then relented, because the world has a way of reminding you of what you can't control. Theo walked up the steps after school and stood just inside the front door like a soldier, unsure which war this was. "You okay?" Anna asked. He nodded, eyes doing the thing teenage eyes do when they're pretending water is a rumor. "Can I play the piano? Do you know how?" "A little? Then yes," Anna said, and he played badly and beautifully, and the house leaned in to listen. One afternoon in late April, Lawson came by with a package. "This was at the bottom of the safe," he said. "I didn't see it before. It's addressed to both of us." The envelope had Evelyn's precise writing. Inside was a photograph, old and sun-drunk, of Anna on the back steps with a cup of chamomile in her hands, eyes closed, face turned toward the last light, taken from the kitchen window. On the back, Evelyn had written, "She never thinks anyone is looking. Make sure she knows I was." Anna sat down at the kitchen table without meaning to. "She always did that," she said. "Seeing me?" Lawson nodded. "Oh, she liked being right," he said. "She was right about the house," Anna said. "Are you glad?" Lawson asked, and it was not a small question. Anna looked around. At the scuffed baseboard she hadn't sanded yet because ghosts liked something to lean on. At the rug Marlowe had chosen that didn't whisper anymore, but hummed. At the bowl of oranges on the counter like a sunrise you could eat. At the front door, where a child's mittens hung to dry and no one had complained. "Yes," she said. "I am." She expected the answer to feel like betrayal. It didn't. It felt like standing up straighter with something heavy in her hands and discovering it wasn't heavy at all. On the first anniversary of Evelyn's death, a small crowd gathered in the garden. Camilla put out a picture of Evelyn with a scarf that looked like weather. There were cookies, as there had been every Wednesday since the first, and tea and a band from the high school that played Moon River in the way high school bands play everything. Almost right and very earnest. Charlotte came. Her dress was a truce color. She stood at the back with a face that had learned new lines none of her creams could smooth. When Anna finished speaking, thanking everyone for coming, telling a story about the time Evelyn had tried to bake bread and created a weapon, Charlotte stepped forward. "I want to say something," she said, and a collective instinct to flinch fell over the lawn like shade. "I was not gracious," she said, the word sounding like a foreign currency in her mouth. "I was cruel." "You were grieving," Anna said. "I was also cruel," Charlotte said, and for a moment she was not anyone's daughter or mother, but just a person in a garden, trying to lift something she had dropped. Mother would have liked the Wednesdays. She would have pretended not to, Anna said, and people laughed, and the laugh was not a cut, but a stitch. Charlotte swallowed. "I brought something," she said, and she handed Anna a slim package wrapped in brown paper and string like a secret from a friend. Inside was a scarf, pale blue, the color of mourning. "I thought you should have one," Charlotte said. For when the house remembers to breathe," Anna said. "Thank you." They stood there in the light that made everything Honest, two women who had been enemies, and then something else you don't have a word for until you need it. The band hit a note they meant to hit. A child ran past with a cookie in each hand, shameless in joy. Someone started crying quietly because the sun had decided to be too kind for late April, and grief is at least half weather. Anna tied the scarf loosely at her throat. It made her feel both ridiculous and exactly right, which is what grace does when it's working. After the crowd thinned, Theo and Marlowe lingered. "Do you ever get tired?" Theo asked, sitting on the steps where he'd once thrown bread to nothing. "Yes," Anna said. "I have a chair for that." "Oh, what chair?" he asked, and she sparked her eyes the way Evelyn had taught her. "The one in the sunroom with the good light. The one your mother took," she said. And he laughed so hard, he nearly fell off the step. "Come see the kitchen," Marlowe said, tugging him. "We put up the new photos." They went in and stood under a row of frames, Evelyn with her scarf, Anna with her chamomile, Camilla with a tray and a conspirator's grin, Miguel pretending not to be proud of the camel, Liana with flowers that looked like they had accidentally gotten famous. In the corner was a picture of the first Wednesday, the toddler's hands on the marble, blessing or curiosity or both. "Did you ever think," Marlowe asked, "that this would be your life?" "Every day," Anna said. "And not once. That's how impossible things work." At dusk, when the garden had traded applause for crickets, Anna walked the house alone like she always had, but differently. In the foyer, she touched the banister the way you touch a sleeping thing you love. In the library, she ran her fingers over the rug and felt it hum its new song. In the music room, she set a metronome on the piano and wound it, listened to its small, stubborn heart. 2 inches down, let the chest rise. 2 inches down. In the sunroom, she sat in the chair with the second best light, because the best light belonged to absence, and took out Evelyn's letter again. She read it once, and then set it in the drawer where a scarf used to cool. She looked at the door that used to be for staff, and the door that used to be for guests, and thought how silly doors can be when they forget they're just holes in a wall. Camilla came in without knocking, because you don't knock on a kitchen. "Leftovers," she said, setting down a plate. "The children took all the good cookies. They left you the respectable ones." "I like respectable things," Anna said. "They usually last." Camilla sat. "You look like a woman who has finished running." "I don't think this is a race," Anna said. "I think it's a house that wants to be a town." Camilla tilted her head. "And you're the mayor?" "I'm the caretaker," Anna said. "Of people, mostly." They ate in the kind of quiet that makes the food taste like memory. Outside, the night spread itself across the lawn like a blanket. Someone who loves you insists you take. Before she went upstairs, her room now moved to the front of the house, not out of vanity, but because light matters, Anna turned back to the foyer and unlocked the front door. She left it on the latch, the way Evelyn used to when the lilacs were out and the world smelled like promises. From the street, the house looked like a ship lit softly from within. Not a museum, not a trophy, a place someone could enter without shrinking. The brass plate by the bell no longer read Whitmore Residence. The plate read Whitmore House, and below it, in smaller letters and hands. Sometimes the sea keeps what you throw into it. Sometimes it brings it back better. Anna started up the stairs. Her shoes, new now, comfortable and a little beautiful, were quiet on the wood she had polished for half her life. At the landing, she paused where Charlotte once laughed at her and touched the wall. It was smooth as the inside of a shell. She smiled. The house, which knew things people did not, exhaled. And for the first time in a very long time, it felt completely, simply, owned by love.